So would you say now is a good time to invest because of all these future plans? So you got to be a visionary to know that that's where this is heading. Right?
Without a doubt,
Yeah.
And I think anyone that could go back in time and look at all of those master plans, they would buy.
Totally.
You would have sold whatever you needed to sell to put the funds together to get back in.
Yeah.
And this is no different, right? I think you're at, the beauty is that you're at the footstep of it all. You're in a condo node. There's a number of condominiums that surround us. And the accessibility to Downsview Park, and you're literally just overlooking this whole huge Northcrest land. And their goals, again, it's just integrating mixed use. These 50-minute communities, and I think now is the right time. And there's really no wrong time, but I think if you want to be a part of this huge shift before a lot of the infrastructure drops in, that's really where you're going to make the most amount of money if you're going to be doing it.
And like you mentioned, we've seen it at the Vaughan Metropolitan Center, which 6 to 10 years ago was just barren land.
Nothing.
Right?
No subway,
No.
farmland, no high.
No.
Like it was, you had nothing going on there.
Yeah.
And even when you saw the first couple of buildings of condominiums go up, the people were incredibly skeptical.
Yeah.
Right? And so, and rightfully so. But I think we've seen it so many times, with downtown Markham. No one thought downtown Markham would be anything.
Yeah.
And look at it today. It's a thriving community selling at, $1,000 a foot on resale in Markham.
Yeah.
Right? This is, but it takes time. So if you don't have time and you can't see beyond your day to day, you can't understand that the city's gonna grow whether we like it or not.
Yeah.
The Northcrest lands is gonna redevelop whether we like it or not. Subway, GO train, and highway are right there, very accessible whether we like it or not. The change is gonna happen, be a part of it. No different than downtown Toronto East when we invested, 3, 4, 5, 6 buildings worth because we understood it was the only place to grow. And so with WestLine, you can invest in a subway, in a condominium, 5 minutes to the subway, starting at $1,000 a foot. And I think that those days are gone. Those days are gone, right? So I think this is a rare opportunity to find value on a PSF basis.
Yeah.
And those windows are closing rapidly.
So you mentioned Downsview and the plans there around WestLine Condos. So Downsview has some really ambitious plans.
The most, some of the biggest plans you've ever seen.
Yeah. Can you talk a little bit more about what that master plan community
For sure,
is?
yeah. If you go ID8 Downsview, if you Google that, you'll be able to start to see the framework. So a lot of it is creating little communities, 15-minute community spaces. So everything is within 15-minute pockets. So you should be able to get to everything within a 15-minute walk. Groceries, school, that's what they want to build there. So they've got a great vision, but it starts with employment. So recently they announced that there's going to be a 2 million square foot facility for film and television. So that's 5,000 employees that they're going to bring, and that's a green light. So these things are happening in motion, but their vision is about employment, because you need employment to have a community, right? It can't just be condo, housing, condo. For them, they look at something, if you want to be sustainable, you want to be able to sort of self-sustain, people have to work, they have to thrive.
Well, live, work, play, right?
Exactly. Yeah. So for them, it's all about employment. The reason why the connectivity part's so important is not because where can we go from WestLine outward, it's so people can get to WestLine to get to Downsview. Right, just like Union Station, everything comes to Union Station, but at some point Union Station is so saturated, there's just so many people that it's overflowing, it's not getting better. When you can't get on the subway train to get to Union because it's so full, suddenly we have a problem. So how many communities, how many cross sections in the GTA have GO train, highway, and TTC subway accessibility? And that, they're pretty much none. And so the city's gonna say, well, doesn't that make sense where people can get to? That makes sense. We want to turn this into an employment hub, then build residential around it, then you build communities and parks. That makes sense. So the sequential order of how they envision this community makes a lot more sense in a lot of the other master plans. Like you saw that with VMC where they had the KPMG building up, and that was a flagship building of a AAA tenant. You've got high unemployment, and that starts to create the footsteps of, now you've got PwC, now you've got YMCA, now you've got, they're gonna start the Niagara Park at some point. The subway was established. So these are little steps, but again, employment is the key pillar in all of this. And we're excited to see the baby steps of all of that come to life that we all saw at Regent Park, at VMC, at City Place. It just happened in such a slow instance that now we're sort of seeing it again. So this shouldn't surprise anyone, right? Like this has been done before, and that's why it's so exciting, is because you're really just dropping the same playbook. And so you can have that type of confidence that this is going to be an emerging market that has a ton of upside. The Finch LRT is under construction right now. The impact of the Finch LRT, which is just a handful of stops away from Downsview Park, I mean, it makes Downsview Park this sort of hub, this sort of centralized hub. And so what does that mean? That means change, growth, employment, development, redevelopment. You have no choice, because when you've got that many links, that many ways to get to this one space, the city's going to prioritize that as the next place to be because of accessibility, right? Their priority is to make sure that people that live in this city can get to work. So they're going to push for communities that are easily accessible to be the right communities for employment and all the other good stuff that we prioritize when it comes to investing and spaces we want to live.
And I think it's a great giveaway when you see the government investing in a neighborhood.
When they're so confident in, like, who has such a large piece of land of this scale? Nobody.
Yeah.
So you cannot create a framework and a vision, right? Because in downtown it's block by block by block. So you can't coordinate anything. You're your own building, you're doing what you want to do. I'm my own building, I'm gonna do what I want to do. Instead, and so that's why, City Place is a unique space. They could build a school. Right? They could build community centers, they could build outdoor space. You need that. Same with Regent Park. They could control it. In many other instances, if they're singular buildings doing their own thing and everyone's private. In this environment, it's private, but there's a vision to sort of bring it together to create an all-inclusive, community. And I think, you're talking about schools, you're talking about community space, you're talking about retail and office and, commercial and residential, high-rise and low-rise and everything in between. So, I think we'll look back 10, 20 years from now and be like, that's what we were talking about.
Yeah.
And every single one that watches this 10 years from now is like, why didn't I buy? I can tell you that right now with absolute confidence. And so get into the market. Don't wait to buy real estate. Buy real estate and wait.
We'll take a moment just to talk about CentreCourt
Sure.
here. One of the greatest lessons I've learned in business is know who you're in business with. So can you tell us a little bit more about the brand CentreCourt?
For sure, yeah, absolutely. CentreCourt's an organization that's been around for 11 years now. We've brought over 9,000 units to the market, just under 20 projects in 10 years, 11 years.
Impressive.
Which is a big pace. It's 2 projects a year. Most people do 4 projects in 50 years. So for us to keep this pace, it allows us to have a pulse on the market, allows us to have a better understanding of construction costs, of land costs, of taxation from the city. So from an expertise level, we're constantly sharpening our knives because we're always in the market. We're not showing up once every 2 or 3 years and trying to figure out what's going on. And so if you're looking to align yourself with someone that only eats, sleeps, and breathes real estate development, construction, this is the organization for you, right? Always zoned, 0 days of interim occupancy, which is a unique, feature that we offer, which is you go straight to final closing.
Why is that important to CentreCourt? Because it's not the norm in the industry.
Well, there's a couple of triggers. The first is you can't have a full occupancy license to close if your building's not built to a specific standard. So what's key for us is you're not moving into a construction zone. I have moved in recently into a construction zone. Hallways are concrete. The walls are not painted.
You can't use the amenities.
Nothing is done.
And tenants usually say, why am I paying top dollar not to use the amenities?
Correct. And so it's not great for rental and resale. You're actually selling yourself short. So for a tenant, an owner, one of your children to move into a space that's hotel ready, it's the little things like that. There's a premium associated with that, but it's the little things like that that go a long way when it comes to how it's going to make you feel when you're closing. And so that's key. Now, for purchasers, you're able to start paying down your principal immediately. You're not paying phantom rent. And there are benefits to phantom rent, but I would say that if you're trying to get that principal paid down sooner rather than later, every month counts. And some of these buildings can go in interim occupancy for a year. So you can go 1 year paying nothing to your principal. And that's not ideal either. So for us, it's about being different, creating a superior product, but also giving you a better experience when it comes to condo investment and also moving into an asset. Moving into a construction zone is not fun. Having PDIs throughout that process is not fun. So for us, it's giving our buyers a different experience.
And why is it so important for CentreCourt to have some extraordinary and outstanding sales and marketing programs?
Because I think it's about awareness, it's about educating, it's about allowing people to really see what we see. A lot of people just see a building, a piece of land, they see what's there today. They see the Ryerson or the subway stop or the Downsview Park, but they're not able to see what's around the corner, right? The next steps, the next 2 years, 5 years, 10 years, 20 years. And so I think for us, that's the stuff that we do, because it allows us to better understand what is the upside for our buyers, for us, what's happening in this community that makes sense, what's exciting. And so, for our sales and marketing programs, they're exciting because our sites are exciting. And they're easy to talk about, and there's a lot of strengths, and they resonate with buyers. Every buyer resonates with transit. Every buyer resonates with education, universities, whether they went or their kids are going. These are all themes that people connect with emotionally, and I think that's a good sign when you're buying something, of this stature, of this magnitude. This is your hard-earned dollars, so you want a great location with a developer that's gonna start construction. Prime started construction, Wellesley started construction, Mercer construction, Church construction,
Forest
Hill construction. If you drive by, you can see holes dug, and the cranes are up. So for us, sales and marketing is such a great part of telling the story. But our bread and butter, what we do for a living, is we build homes, we build buildings, right? So there's a lot of flash in the pan. But what we do best is we build condominium developments for investors and end users. We work with top agents such as yourself, and I think we do it in a manner that is very professional, and incredibly quick, and I think we do it better than most, if not anyone else.